Yo, what's going on, guys? Zachary 200 700 here, and today I'm just gonna be telling a quick story time about the one time what it was like to get suspended at my very strict school. Um, as some of you may know, I go to a school and we have this point system where we start off with 15 points at the beginning of a new quarter, which is around 3 months, and you lose those points for simple things like talking in class or, running in the halls. Simple stuff like that. Simple mistakes that everybody makes. And I, on the other hand, like to talk in class. Most of the time because I'm just bored and I'm not interested whatsoever in that class. Anyway, so I end up losing 4 of these points for one of the most stupid reasons I've ever heard of in my life. The reason I lost 4 points was because a piece of paper got stuck to my shirt and I was trying to shake it off, while my friend was saying, "It's gonna eat me. The paper is gonna eat me." That's all he said. And during that, the teacher yells, "Go back to your seats," and explains to us that we have lost 4 points for roughhousing in the middle of class, which we were not doing. So, after 2 days of us being confused on what happened, we end up confronting her at the end of the class after the 2 days, and we go, "We weren't roughhousing. We were literally just vibing back there, and a piece of paper got stuck to my shirt." After we prove her wrong and explain to her what really happened, then she begins to just tell us to flat out leave the classroom. So, as us children, we need to leave the classroom. So, we leave, and we're just astonished in how ignorant some people can be. So, the next day rolls around, and I end up losing a point for humming in class because that was very distracting. Just humming a song. That's all I was doing while I was doing my work. Lost 1 point for that. Ended up getting suspended. So, while I'm suspended, I am in the line waiting for the teacher or the student guidance counselor to come in and tell us how much of bad children we are. So he ends up coming around and he starts screaming at us to all shut up. And while he's doing that, the class teachers around us come out of the classroom and they start telling us that we need to be quiet. Us that were just waiting outside and talking to each other because there was nothing else better to do. So we ended up getting yelled at, and then we got yelled at by some more teachers for something we didn't even do. Never mind that. So we end up walking into the classroom and we all sit down. Now this student guidance teacher isn't really the best because out of nowhere he starts treating us like we are children that have just committed multiple crimes like breaking into gas stations and stuff like that. Immediately I feel less than an average child. So he ends up telling me all these stories about how awful his life was. And he starts going on about how both of his brothers are addicted to drugs, and one of them committed suicide in jail. And his sister is now a hooker that works on the side of the street and sells her body for money. Now, I'm not really that much of a professional, but I don't think that's the greatest thing to tell a young child. At the age of 12, I don't think I need to know that your sister is a prostitute now. But never mind that, because the principal was in the back of the class agreeing with all of this. At this point, I think everybody was pretty astonished that this is the priorities of school, that we need to make sure that nobody's talking or running down the hallway, and that we need to be taught to not talk, because they're saying that we're basically going to turn into criminals if we don't knock it off. They say that it's all downhill from here if we keep on getting suspended. Which most of the time, you lose around 9 points for something you haven't even done. But that's a story for another time. Anyway, we end up going to lunch, because we need to eat. I forgot we were allowed to eat because apparently we're all going to turn into prostitutes eventually, which is what I learned in that class. Anyway, we go to lunch, and whenever we're done, we need to clean the tables off for some reason, even though it's not like anybody started smearing pizza all over the table. We start cleaning up, but it turns out that they didn't have enough rags, and I was the only one without a rag. So I end up telling him, and he goes, "Well, then just go outside and wait with the other kids." I go off and walk, and while I'm walking away, I hear him yelling at a kid, because apparently he was putting too much water on the table or something like that. Not clear. Don't want to put anything out there that's not true. Anyway, While I'm walking back, everybody in the hallway is just goofing off. Of course, I start talking to my friends, like usual, because there's nothing else better to do out in the hallways. And this music teacher comes out. Now, this is where it gets really messed up. He comes out, and he walks towards us and starts yelling in our faces. Not even like, he's just raising his voice, yada yada. No, he was full on yelling like he was yelling at somebody that's at least 18. So while he's yelling at us, he comes over to me, and whenever he gets in my face, I kid you not, I am not capping, I smell alcohol in his breath. I smell alcohol, like beer, anything. I don't know what alcohol smells like, but I know dang sure that that is alcohol. Because I've met a couple of drunk people on my way to the gas station, and I know what alcohol breath smells like. I'm not which type of alcohol, but it's definitely alcohol. Anyway, he wanders back into his classroom, and again, teachers come out and start yelling at us because we're being too loud, even though he was the one yelling at us at the top of his lungs, in our face. So, we end up going back to class after getting, our ears blasted with a 40-year-old man that has nothing else better to do with his life besides teach kids mediocre music. Anyway, we end up back in the normal classroom, and this guy, a student guide teacher, the dude, he comes back in the class, and he's telling us how disappointed he is in us. Starts going off about how idiotic and stupid it was of us to just start talking. So, we end up listening to him because there's nothing else we can do around there. So, and then all these other teachers come in, and they start talking about how awful their lives were too at some point. Not gonna name any names because, of course, I don't want to get sued. So, they end up telling me, this one time at the park, this guy pulled a gun on me. Usual bad situations everybody goes through in life. But I feel like they need to calm down with all this because we're 12 years old and they're yelling at us about people trying to rape, mug, and harass them. And we're all 12 in there. And I feel as if it's not okay for that to be happening. Because a lot of the kids in there do deserve to be in there for, flipping off teachers and running out of schools. I, on the other hand, have never lost a point for hurting anybody. I don't bully people, I don't punch anybody, unless they're my friends and we're roughhousing with each other. But we obviously don't roughhouse in class. We either roughhouse outside, and even though, it's supposed to be our free time, we're not even allowed to play football or soccer, because it's too dangerous. We're also not allowed to go on the baseball field that costs at least almost $1,000 to put together probably, because of all the red dirt. They don't like it going into the classroom's carpets. I don't understand how that works, but I'm pretty sure they could have used that money to, give us much more high-quality desks, or something better than a baseball field we can't even walk on. We lose a point for walking on it, too. Anyways, he keeps on going on about how much his life sucks, and all the teachers are agreeing with this, of course. Principal's back there agreeing with the fact that he's telling a whole bunch of underage children that don't even understand what a hooker is really, and telling us how much we should be grateful our lives are. And then he goes on to tell us that he's been through it all, which I severely doubt. And yeah, at the end of the day, my mom picks me up, asks me how it went, and I kid you not, the drunk teacher calls my mom, and he starts telling her how disappointed he was in me. And not only that, but he goes, you should be disappointed in your son. If I was his parents, I would be very disappointed, and you need to work on your parenting. I'm not sure that's how teachers are supposed to talk to parents. So, hopefully whenever I get back there, he's fired, and if he's not, then I'm gonna make him fired, because that's not okay. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to the story time if you watched it fully. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Tomorrow I'm gonna be vlogging, hopefully. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Make sure not to get into trouble. I managed to find any way to get in trouble somehow. For clicking my pencil. I lost a point for that one time, too. And yeah, I guess I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.